Welcome to Psychic Talk with Jay and Sara. Today is September 22nd, and this is episode 17.
Oh, 17.
I know, we've got 16 under our belts. One more today.
And 17 is 8, so it's good.
Yes, it is good. And the number 22 is interesting. We talk about 22 major arcana, 22 watchers. Today is the 22nd, and my son's birthday is today, and he's 22.
That's great.
So it's kind of cool.
That is
It's
cool.
kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed our podcast last week, talking about the soul evolution. And I did get some positive feedback from it too, which is great.
Okay.
And it just sheds light on the division in the world. And I think a lot of it goes back to soul ages and soul groups. So we can continue that conversation.
Yeah.
Because I know when you walked in today, you said, boy, the division is amplified so much right now. It's like we're in the time of the Great Divide.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And here we are in this transition between the old earth and the new, and the division just keeps getting more and more amped up.
Well, it does, and it just shows the slumber and the sleep from the so-called MK Ultra people and
The brainwashing.
The brainwashing.
Yeah, you can see it. You can see it for sure. It's not about Charlie Kirk. I think he is just the person who happens to be in the middle of this big divide that we're in right now. But each side is so fixed in their position that it's just, there's no listening to the other side. It doesn't seem, to me anyway, from my observation.
It seems that, and the Great Divide is interesting. Before a civilization can really grow in the sense of unity, it has to go through the Great Divide so that it's mirroring to itself what the problems are and what deadlocks consciousness from evolving.
Do you mean sort of like, I remember it says in the Bible somewhere, is separating the sheep from the goat? And I'm not even sure what that means, or the wheat from the chaff, right? Is it separating the people who truly do want to evolve and embrace one another from the people who just want to stay divided and maybe see people decline? I don't know.
I mean, that's a good way of looking at it. It's like the children of light, right? Shedding light to a new world. And when you look at the light, or what the Bible would say, the wheat and the chaff, or this or that, the light doesn't really contain itself in division. It really paints a landscape of unity. And it's hard, the people that are in division, to get out of it. It's not a judgment, but when I look at them, I feel sad in a way that the world is so polarized underneath an umbrella of division.
Well, it was strategic too. And remember, we talked about following your heart. A lot of that is very heart based, and, it's people's passions, what they love and what they hate. And when you see it play out on a world stage, it's easy to get caught up in it. Again, you're going with your heart because that's what they're projecting towards people. Yeah. I mean, if you watch the news, is there anything really neutral on the news? No, it's painting a narrative that you have to choose one side over the other. It is sad to see that. People pointing fingers and hating on each other so much.
When you dig deeper into the illusion of the grand illusion, and you go above a president and various figureheads or talking heads, and you follow the money behind it, that doesn't even tell you who's running stuff, but it at least elevates your consciousness to the next level to realize that it's not a president running stuff. I mean, in any company, you have your CEOs, your CFOs, your presidents aren't on the top, and then they answer to a board, right? The president is just the president. And
so you're talking about the Illuminati, it sounds like, the hidden hand. I use the term Illuminati with my tongue in my cheek. You can't see. Can you see me?
I don't know.
Tongue in cheek here. Yeah. But, these nefarious characters who have their finger on the buttons, so to speak. And so there is an agenda. But what is that agenda? To keep people divided?
And confused and never looking at the right. It's like that old three shells and they put a little ball under the shell. Oh, take a look. It's over here. And they move it
Sleight
around.
of
And
hand, I
it's
think.
always the sleight of hand.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a bigger agenda way beyond anybody that sits in the House of Congress. On both sides of that aisle, it doesn't matter. You know, Jerry Garcia used to say, the grass ain't greener, the wine ain't sweeter on either side of the hill.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I know. And speaking of Congress, I find it really fascinating that this video of the Hellfire missile that hit that UAP
Oh.
it was a year ago off the coast of Yemen. And we talked about it, I think, last time. So Congress had this hearing and they realized that there is an object out there, a flying object that was not destroyed by this missile. And they're saying that Hellfire missile would kill anything in its path, but yet it bounced off this UAP or UFO. But what I think is so funny or so sad in a way is that who's paying attention? People would rather talk about, do I like Charlie Kirk or not? Right. And what he stands for
Right.
or what Trump is doing.
Right.
And no one's really, I shouldn't say no one, because there are people talking about it, but it doesn't seem to be a topic of great conversation. And if you really look what that's all about, that suggests that, yes, there are UFOs, there are higher beings that are more advanced than we are. So let's talk about that a little bit right now.
I like it, actually. And it's interesting when you say that a lot of people aren't paying attention. And part of that is because, you know, those nefarious ones of the old world, they don't really want that. Like, they haven't wanted it all along. And they've created false narratives and a lot of things to keep people from understanding a greater reality. And so because when you don't see it come out and covered, it's because there's division in their own house. Part of their house is divided, like biblical. The house is divided, it will fall.
Right.
So there are people that are in that house that are wanting the truth to come out and have been wanting the truth to come out. And, you know, just recently they put $1.5 million into the UFO community, the UFO hearings and stuff, of taxpayer money to get to the bottom line of these things. And boy, is that a good thing for the world right now. I can remember when we started the Lighthouse, the ridicule and the, you know.
Yeah. And I mean, again, we talked about this a little bit before, but, you know, we were in contact and we wanted to talk to other people about it because it was a big deal. The messages that we were receiving were really, really powerful about the supersonic bell, tipping point of evolution. Humanity needs to wake up and unite before it's too late. Yeah. Well, boy, did that fall on deaf ears. People did not want to hear it.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of it is fear. And, you know, when we talk about Congress and people who are in Congress or in positions of power, you know, if you think about a human or a man who thinks, I'm the greatest, you know, I'm at the top of the food chain, right? I know best. I'm so wise. And you have these crafts around or these other beings around that they have no understanding of whatsoever. I mean, this really rattles people to the core. When you think that you are the top dog, and then you realize, no, not at all.
Not even close. Yeah.
Not even close. It's frightening for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It truly, truly is. So I really am excited too, like you are. I want to see more truth coming out. And I don't know. What's next?
You know, I mean, even not to point out political people, because to me, I don't care what side of the hill. It's all the same house, period. But there is a guy, Chuck Schumer, he said, you know, humanity has the right to know about hidden technologies and of unknown human origin, things that are not human.
Do we really have the right?
Well, do we have the right for anything?
Because
really?
When it goes into the wrong hands, you see what humans do. I mean, they were trying to shoot down that UFO. Why would they give technology? Why do humans deserve it when they're so violent?
Well, it's true, but it also goes to show you they named the thing. I laughed because you said they called it hellfire. So
The missile.
so the
Yeah.
missile. Well, if that's the best that hell can even bring up, it's not good enough. It's like even hellfire couldn't take it down, right?
Well, I think it just goes to show it's a really important conversation to have, but a lot of people don't know how to address it. Because if it's real and it's true, what does it truly mean? So it's one thing for, there's a lot of, military people,
Yeah.
astronauts, pilots coming out
Yep.
and saying that they've seen UFOs or UAPs, they call them. There's been a lot of eyewitness accounts.
Yeah.
But what's missing from those accounts is messages from these crafts, right? They're not hearing anything. They're not receiving any downloads of information.
And that's strategic too. I mean, the beings, we'll call them, the so-called folks that operate these crafts, some of them don't talk to anybody. Right. Some of them don't even talk to these channelers or these people that are open to that. They're silent, and some do. But when you look at the military people that are really compartmentalized and under scrutiny from higher ups and things like that, they're really not going to share too much of the reasonings why. It's just at a good level that they're starting to show themselves to these folks. And from there, it will just keep elevating until there is contact and there is information that comes forward. This is nothing new. It's just coming out to the public now. There's old photographs on the Rockefeller property with Stephen Greer, Hillary Clinton. What's the billionaire's name there?
Robert Bigelow.
That's it. Robert Bigelow.
John Mack was in that photo too.
John Mack. Mm-hmm. And that goes back a long time ago, which means depending where your perception is, the government already knows a lot about this information.
Well, they're just disclosing it now because they know they can't keep a lid on it anymore.
That's right.
And it's just going to increase in number and there'll be more testimonies, I'm sure. And it's a really exciting time. And I know it's scary for a lot of people, but it's also exciting. And maybe people aren't talking about it because they're afraid, or maybe they still don't believe it, or maybe their attention is just on other things and they're not noticing it. So it's sort of like, it's not even on their radar screen. No. Maybe because they've heard so many stories, false stories that this is just another one of them. So it doesn't register.
No.
I think that might be more the case.
It sounds like it. I mean, just their focus is on division and politics and a lot of the other noise. And it seems like anytime truth starts to be revealed a little bit, the noise gets louder and the division gets wider so that they don't spend time looking at certain truths.
Well, I wanted to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Now, you have talked about the UFO experience you had in Old Orchard Beach, Maine.
Yeah.
How many different UFO experiences have you had? Do you recall? Because I know it's more than one, clearly.
A few of them, or many of them, were just bearing witness to something flying right in the sky.
Right.
So it wasn't really an interaction, but the interactions that I had started young when I was in Marin County in Northern California, which was also seen by my mom and family and other people that were communal living around us at that time.
Did anybody say what the craft looked like? Because I know they understand that you were taken, right? Did they see the craft?
Yeah, described as traditional craft, like the saucer type. That's what it was described as. There's been about 3 or 4 interactions that I've had that absolutely rattled me. Anybody that says, oh, I've had an experience, it comes with a rattling effect of, oh my God, what is this? So there's been a few of them. And I know it was all looking back in preparation to working with the lighthouse. It was almost like the precursors of the experiences for what was yet to come. I didn't know at that time I was going to we were going to be a part of this organization. And by the way, many of the folks in the organization on the board level have also had experiences.
Right. It's very, very interesting. We've all in our own private lives seen crafts, been interacting with advanced intelligence. And just recently, someone that we know, we're not going to mention any names, but, she's had several interactions with a craft and even has a photograph as well. So it's pretty cool. And we even know it's amping up around us as well. So it feels like the time is now, not so much for disclosure on a worldwide level. And I know a lot of people in the UFO community are pushing for disclosure or saying that disclosure will happen. I don't see full disclosure happening because humanity isn't ready.
The simple answer to full disclosure, I mean, it's one thing to knock on Congress's door and reveal, oh, we've seen this and it's real and here's some pictures and this and that. But the buck kind of stops there. If you're not having telepathy, if you're not really communicating.
Right, because what would be the purpose at all? You know what I mean? Why are UFOs showing themselves? Does anybody have that answer? Right.
Well, we do kind of, because the what brings them to show themselves in our plane of existence, it's just another plane of existence and another plane of existence, what they call dimensions. And what brings them here to show us more is our consciousness, is unity. So just the fact that they're knocking at the door again, and just the fact that there's more interaction and people seeing stuff more, is a sign to say that we are consciously, enough of us, evolving to bring in that other reality. They're kind of playing with us. They're saying, okay, we're going to show you some things because you deserve that, because you're scratching at our door by unity and love. And that's the secret. And if we can get away from division, that's how they're going to have full disclosure.
Right. But it has to be the whole of humanity, not just some of us. Right.
The truth is, if you look at the world and you look at different countries, United States is a little behind when it comes to unity. There's a lot of other countries that are already unified, and you can tell by that, just by the way they take care of their people.
Right.
If you make America great again, you would want to, and it's never been really great, but when you want to make it great, you get rid of poverty. I always show examples of other countries outdoing us in a prideful way with just the train system. Just the train system. You don't have to go further than that to see where we are and to see where other countries are. I mean, in China, they're magnetic, already off the rail. We have old Amtraks that rattle and roll.
Back to the UFO stuff, because I think it's a really exciting topic. And I'd love to shed some light on that too, from our experiences, what we understand as contactees and as people who work with scientists. And, having seen UFOs ourselves and have telepathy with advanced intelligence, we know we have something to offer. And it's not just, big tales and I've done this, I've done that. It's not about the ego at all, but we have a mission and it's coming from a different place. And we understand that it is going to take unity for them to get closer to us.
And you can tell it's real, because why would scientists want to get involved with us? Like, scientists generally are going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? Right. But these are real scientists with real technologies that also have the understanding of a greater reality of these folks that fly in crafts.
Yeah, I know I said in the last podcast that they wouldn't land here. And why? Let's talk about the reasons why. And how can we make this environment palatable for them so they could land? I think that would be something that we can dig into a little bit. Humans are too violent and too divided, and that's a frequency. And these advanced intelligent beings, whatever you want to call them. It's funny when we talk about it. We might say ETs, we might say beings. It all sounds a little bit.
Friends. Let's just call them our
It sounds a little
friends.
kitschy, and I don't want to sound kitschy. So our friends, why won't they land? Right, because they have such a high vibration, and it would need to be at a certain frequency for them to be able to land safely and be healthy themselves and safe. When you're in a world where they're trying to shoot down UFOs, in a world where people are shooting each other for no good reason at all, and people don't know how to treat each other well, they can't land. And it doesn't make sense for them to land. Why would they want to? But they would land if they did see that people were taking care of each other, were unifying. If the frequency were more balanced, then we would have more interactions.
We would. And opposed to, like Stephen Greer runs his SETI programs where you take people out and you try to connect with the craft and get them to come here, is almost asinine in its format when you don't have the wisdom to understand that the way to get them here is unity. If we pushed all our energy in cleaning up poverty and changing the frequency down here, you change suffering, you change the frequency. That gets them to not only want to come down here, but to assist in a more real way, evolving us as a species.
Well, he's making a lot of money off these events. And I don't think that would sit too well with these beings to see that, he's making an awful lot of money off it. Should I not say this?
No, you say whatever you want.
Oh, okay. In the millions. And I think when you look at the money that people are making in this disclosure movement, that ought to be a red flag, right? We're not making any money off this, that's for sure, but we're telling the truth. So I'd love to hear from other contactees, to hear what their telepathy has been. Are they saying the same thing? Are they talking about unity, taking care of the poorest of the poor, people that can't help themselves, taking care of the environment?
I mean, is that not what Jesus would do? When you look at Christ and you look at Christianity and all these religious people that beat that drum, they don't show the evidence of inclusiveness or empathy or kindness. So it's a really, really interesting situation how people speak a lot, but they really don't show a lot,
That's pretty sad. But I'd love to talk about some of these other people who talk about UFOs and going places. We don't have to mention any names, but the last thing that they're going to do is pick up a human and take them for a ride into other places and bring them to, say, the Galactic Federation on another planet. So I want to say that there's some mental illness involved in some of these characters that are making such claims, number one. Number two, it seems very ego driven, like they're making it about them and what they're doing and how they are a big part of it all. So when you see people getting a lot of attention, they're on all sorts of social media platforms and they're making money off of it, you really need to be skeptical.
You really do. And you have to look at the narratives of what they're saying, because you don't know if it's somebody that's mentally, or if it's what they call a shill, somebody that's aligned with the government in a way to put out these narratives to keep you further away from the truth. The truth is just, it's sad in a way. So the reality of what it is and what people are saying, you got to be skeptic. And some of the areas that you can have discernment with is just like what you said, people claiming to go other places. There's some folks, without naming names, that claim they've been to Mars and they've fought aliens and they've killed aliens and they've re-engineered their body with this technology 20 and back.
Yes.
And it's just a disservice to anyone, because the evidence screams loudly. It's like, wait a minute. So they're choosing you, a human, to go all the way up to another planet to fight aliens when you have nefarious individuals. Most of them are humans, and a few of them are not. But you can't even defeat the individuals. You don't even know who the enemy is here on Earth. How dare you say you're going to Jupiter, Mars, or Neptune, and they're picking you to fight someone when this world is going to hell in a handbasket very fast if we don't unify.
It's kind of funny, but you're right. It is really, really sad. It's really easy if you have discernment and you're a neutral person and you do your research.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see that a lot of them have deleted content from their own platforms that contradicts their current story, right? So they're making money, they're not consistent, their predictions haven't come true. So, okay, if you want to listen to them for entertainment purposes, but really don't believe anything they say.
Right.
If they've told you one lie, that should be good enough.
And the other thing is they use it under the umbrella of a whistleblower. And, the two whistleblowers, not a lot of whistleblowers. A lot of people aren't stupid enough to do that. And the ones that do, God, their lives are hell. I mean, living hell, like the Snowden.
Yeah.
And the other guy
that
there.
did WikiLeaks. I
Yeah.
can't think of his name.
These people are probably in fear every single day of their life, no matter where they are. These other whistleblowers that claim they're whistleblowers travel around on a lecture circuit, getting paid.
Right.
And if they were really blowing whistles,
wouldn't they be in hiding?
They'd be picked up in a white van after the lecture. You
mean a black van?
It could be black, could be white. Who knows? But but the fact that that's going on. So a lot of people, it's a disservice to the real beings that are really trying to help humanity evolve. It's a disservice.
I think another interesting thing that you mentioned about the reptilians.
Yeah.
There's this narrative about all the reptilians are evil and they've been ushered off the planet by humans.
Oh, yeah, really?
Right? So remember that video that God. Congress with the Hellfire missile that hit the UFO and it just bounced off?
Right.
Well, how are humans going to get rid of the reptilians, right? And they're all evil, laughable. Right? All of the reptilians are evil. So what does that even say? It's like, first of all, it sounds ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
But it's also pretty racist.
It's very racist. It's just more of the same bullshit that goes on, and it's very racist. And the reality is, so much richer than what these narratives say. And I kind of want to name them, but I'm not going to name them. But it's such a disservice. I mean, when you look at old civilizations and the structures of civilizations, humans have free will, so they can destroy a civilization or build. But when you look at civilizations all across the world, you see dragons, serpents, beings of wisdom that actually have taught humanity how to become a civilization. Without the reptilian race that is positive, and you can go into the Bible too. I mean, some of the closest angels to God are the seraphim, which are dragons, right? And when you look at, say, like the back of an ambulance, you see the symbol of health. There's a serpent climbing up these
Two
things.
Serpents that
that's
intertwined like the human DNA. And what does
right.
that suggest? And you hear the reptilian brain. Well, they had a hand in creating humanity.
They sure did.
So to call all reptilians evil is just, it's laughable and it's stupid, truly.
Yeah.
But again, what are the messages that they are receiving from these trips that they are taking to other planets? Are they bringing back wisdom to help humanity evolve? Or are they just, is this just an ego trip?
It's an ego trip. And then you say, well, never mind information, right? Because the information they're bringing back doesn't help anyone. It creates more division. It's the reptilians. It's the this. It's the that. But my question is, where's the technology? If the beings are taking you for a ride, They're going to pick you out to obviously help humanity evolve. And with that, you would need technology or some kind of introduction to hardware. And none of them have anything. Actually, all they have is a med bed. They talk about a med bed and they get people to put their money into this. Look, common sense tells you that there is going to be no med bed anytime soon, just for the fact of where we are in the world. Do you think the powers that be are just going to allow that to happen?
Well, let's just, for clarity purposes, the medbed is supposedly an alien technology that has been given already to certain humans that if you lay on the bed, it'll cure you of what ails you. It'll completely heal you from any disease, regrow limbs, organs, etc., etc. So the latest narrative was that 18,000 med beds were going to be released and put into this country in different, I don't know if they would be in doctor's offices or what are these facilities where the med beds are going. Anyway, there are no patents out there for a med bed. There are no scientists involved in this at all. There's no evidence to show that there are any med beds out there. Yet this is something that they talk about. So
I feel bad for these people because when you spread lies like that and you spread disinformation, you're only really harming yourself. But there are no med beds coming anytime soon, not in this world. We have a long way to go before ETs ever were to give you the whole boat to heal that way, because there's still a process in this dimension. You still have to run things through an FDA. You still have to run things through a system. You can't just open up a med bed and put them in the hospitals without the right laws and the right protocols in our world. And so, it's really sad what they're doing with consciousness to believe in things that just are not happening.
Well, because we're in the time of revelations and truths are coming out, I just look forward to the truth about a lot of these things that we're talking about to come out. And you can see it now on, like we said, this video that has been shown to Congress has been on mainstream media. So people are waking up. They are seeing the truth. I would just like to see these people who are spreading so many lies about UFOs. I would like to see them exposed. You can do your own research and see how it is a lot of baloney. I just would love to see more people expose it for what it is and not follow them and not pay to subscribe to their channels or whatever they're doing.
Yeah. But, I mean, eventually
people love entertainment too.
They really do.
Right?
They like to be distracted because we do live in a world that's so divided and so difficult. A lot of people with their hope and their belief attached to something without looking at the evidence of who's presenting this. If there were really med beds going on, didn't Queen Elizabeth die recently, a couple of years ago or something like that?
She did, and Prince Charles does have cancer.
Prince Charles has cancer.
And his daughter-in-law, Kate.
And the Pope, I'm sure, there would be special interests in these med beds if they were real, right? And those people would be some of the first people to have them just because of the power structure of the way the world is.
And their bloodline.
Right,
because they are one of those houses, we talked about it last week, the Wheel of the Zodiac. That is one of the houses that has had power and control over certain segments of humanity for a very, very long time. So if you can't go up against those houses, really.
No.
They are in control.
They really are. And, and these houses are, real. And there are real bloodline folks. And people say, well, they believe in it. The fact that they believe what they believe is all that matters, and they know who they are. And the world doesn't really know who they are. And, and that's the problem. They get caught up with, oh, it's President Trump. He's our savior, or Biden's going to do that. But you can't even become a president of the United States without having affiliations with someone in one of these houses. It's just not going to happen.
I'm curious what they think about the UFOs. an
Who,
advanced intelligence.
the
Well,
bloodline
all the different
families?
bloodline families, right? Are they shaking in their boots, or are they excited? Do they talk about it amongst themselves? I would love to know. I mean, it's
mm. Some things we can't talk about, but yeah, I'm sure that they do talk about things amongst themselves in very high places, and they're very well aware of where we are on the timeline for humanity. And they're very well aware of the house that's rising and houses that are divided within their own structure. They're very much aware.
it's time for current events. So the most obvious is Charlie Kirk's memorial that just took place yesterday. I don't know if there's much to say about it today.
Well, I mean,
from a psychic's perspective,
there's a greater reality in dealing with him. And you don't have to be psychic. I mean, an intelligent, wise sleuth or detective mind might never get to the top, but they might be able to trace things back to a higher situation, one of these houses or one of these groups.
The hidden hand.
The hidden
you always
hand.
Like to say.
And that doesn't just, people say that because there's pictures of like Masons with their hand in their pocket and it's hiding from the world. When we say hidden hand, we aren't necessarily talking about the Masons. The Masons get a lot of bad rap, and they also
get a lot of credit.
They
like they're smarter than they are.
Well, it's just way more than meets the eye with that. And I just think that the bottom line is humanity is very polarized, very divided, and their belief and their perception has them in bondage to those that be their game. So it's going to be very hard for them to figure out the absolute truth behind that. And
well, sort of like JFK, RFK, MLK.
Yeah, it's always the same,
right? So there's a great illusion. So we'll see if the truth comes out. But
I think we have a good chance at some of it coming out, because I'm not going to name names, but I do see certain people uncovering layers that are getting them close to something, but they're never going to, they're never going to find out who's who and who's what with these bloodlines. They just won't do it, but they'll at least find out the human parts of it that, these sleuths, these individuals, some of them are very clever and some of them are not buying into the narratives of division. So before you can even figure anything out, you can't be divided. You have to see through the illusion of the house, the central house of power, and that most of those people in it are bought and sold. They have to answer to someone. That answers to somebody. That answers to the bloodline families.
Mm-hmm. I don't think people can handle that. I don't think a lot of people can, because it's easier for people to just submit themselves to one side or the other. Mm-hmm. It's more comfortable. And I think that a lot of it goes back to soul ages, so it's a lot of the younger souls who attach to one side or the other because they want to be a part of something, and it feels, the safety in numbers. Right. And it resonates with them on a soul level somehow. And it's just, that's what they've decided to do. And that's what they believe. Right. It's when you're a more advanced soul, or when you've been here incarnating so many times and you're on a more spiritual journey, that you have more discernment. Yeah. And you have the ability to be neutral, to see both sides, to think higher. So it's a big conundrum when you consider that, right? So you've got all the lies going on. You got the UFOs out there. What's that all about? Then you've got the politics, and then you've got all these different soul ages and soul groups. I mean, it's a very, very complex, multi-layered, multi-dimensional situation.
It is.
So
it truly is.
Yeah.
So good luck, but yeah.
So I don't know if you saw in the news, but there was a cyber attack on European airports over the weekend.
No, I didn't see that.
Last week, also, there was a mass shooting in Minneapolis. Again, there had been a school shooting there, but there was also a shooting in a homeless encampment.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
And I know
Jeez.
people were critically injured. I'm not sure if anybody died, but there's still a ton of stuff happening. Oh, and something big that's going on right now too is, all the countries in the UN are coming together to call the Palestinians an actual state. They're recognizing Palestine as a state, and calling out Israel, and saying that this is genocide, what they've been doing in Gaza. And do you know that there's only 3 countries who are supporting Israel? Is the United States, Germany, and Austria.
Well, that just goes to show you that Epstein probably went through those countries prior to the rest of them. Because when you're supporting these type of atrocities on a human level, never mind religion, take religion out of it. Just the fact that lots of innocent children and women and people are being murdered on a pretty disastrous level, and the fact that the United States is supporting that. And as a matter of fact, when you go back, most of the wars that Israel's been involved with, if not all of them, the United States has done a lot of the fighting for them or interventions for them.
Funding it too.
Well,
right?
Really funding it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you got to ask yourself, why? Why are we supporting them? And why are we supporting other countries that, want to go to war? Why are we supporting Ukraine? Ukraine is another offshoot of Israel.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And, Putin and his crew are not on, because when you strip it away, it's not religion. You gotta step out of that illusion that they've created to keep you divided once again. There's no coincidence that right in the Wailing Wall, you've got Christians, you've got Muslims, and you've got Jews all kind of condensed into one area. What a prime real estate to cause problems. And that's what's happening right now. It's problems.
I look forward to the truths being revealed on this topic too.
Yeah.
And what else is happening?
I've been, going through some other events, so I haven't been able to tune into the current events. So I was surprised to hear a homeless encampment got shot up.
Right. So again, this country is desperately in need of more unity and reaching across the aisle to one another with more compassion, more understanding, and seeing the things that we have in common. And I love what you said about, rebuilding this country. I mean, the infrastructure is a problem, like the train system, the healthcare system, the education system, the financial system. There's so many problems in this country that we should all unify together and make a big stink about it so that we can keep up with these other countries that are more evolved.
Absolutely. And hold people accountable. I mean, the taxpayers pay $1.5 million for the UFO Congress meeting. It was one day, cost $1.5 million. So if they were to take resources and money and put it into cleaning up homeless camps or giving these people some shelter, there's so many abandoned buildings all over the United States of America. You pick a city, pick a town, you're going to find just abandoned real estate that could house people, that could feed people, and get out of the illusion of, oh, well, they should go get a job. They should do this or do that. Just have pride to say, you know what? I don't want this in my cities anymore. When I go to Switzerland or I go to Germany, wherever I'm going, I go to China, I go to Russia, I don't see that filth. And come at it from an angle like that with compassion and helping these people that obviously a lot of them, even the new age people, oh, well, they've come because they chose that. No, a lot of them come and they get involved with karma and circumstances that are difficult and they can't get out of it.
Right. That's the thing about karma. You should always have an opportunity to get yourself out of a circumstance. And really crazy that a lot of people glom onto that. Oh, they chose to live this life. Oh, well,
Yeah.
wish them well, right? Walk by
Yeah.
and just wish them
Wish
well. I've
them
heard
well.
that. I've heard that
It's so
multiple
funny.
times. And that's a real problem. If we cannot help the most downtrodden amongst us, that's very, very sad.
It's very sad, especially when you have other countries that are so far down the economic chain compared to us. Like, China's number 2. I'm talking about other countries that are like 5, 6, 7, 8. But you look at their populations and it's like, they don't have these problems, and it's like, wow.
Well, even if you look at it from a karma perspective, a lot of people do have karma and they might end up homeless
Yeah.
or, addicted to drugs or whatever it is that got them there.
Right.
Well, yes, that could be karma, but that doesn't mean it's a life sentence.
Right.
And maybe it's your karma if you're walking by someone to think to yourself, how can we help? How can I help this person burn through their karma a little bit better and enjoy a more comfortable life where they're not living out in the street? And I know it's not in our power necessarily to help the homeless, but as a species or as a country, as a community, we should be thinking of ways to lift that community up.
And it is in our power. I mean, these people gather over and they beat a drum a million deep. They run into cities and beat a drum over transgender or some this or some that, or left or right ideologies or hate or this or that. If they took the same people and went in there and raised the stink out of, I'm tired of the homeless. Like, we have buildings. Let's raise whatever it is needed off the taxpayers. You're using that money for all kinds of frivolous things. Let's clean up the country and show other countries that we are great. And for guests that fly over here, it's like people want to come to the United States and go to Disneyland and experience all these entertainment spots and our music and our food and all these wonderful things. But as soon as they walk out of Disneyland or as soon as they walk out of the concert or anywhere else, it's like you're greeted with filth and deprivation. Those are the 2 streets they should have named in every city. Filth Street, corners with deprivation.
You guys probably notice a theme. We talk about the homeless a lot. We talk about division a lot. And I bet you on every single podcast, we talk about both of those topics. And the reason for that is, we get telepathy from these beings who see these things and they're aghast. And that is what's blocking evolution. That is so critical to them. Humans we're not going to evolve to the next level or the next dimension or to, advanced technology if we can't master taking care of one another, right? That is number 1 on their agenda.
I mean, in some of these beings, even though we just talk about the Pleiadian blonde-haired, blue-eyed beings, but, these people have not only mastered unity and things like that, but they also have the ability with technology where their hair can be blonde and their eyes can be blue and their skin can be white and so on and so forth. Once you evolve out of this paradigm of, separation and divide and the blacks and the whites and the this and the that, you end up with technology that says, hey, I want to experience kinky hair. I want straight hair. I want blue eyes. I want green eyes. That stuff's real. That technology is really at our fingertips right now. And that's what makes it so unbelievable, the division. Back to the Charlie Kirk, you see that situation, and it's stirred up. If you look at the news after that, there were so many different misplaced anger and frustrations. It went to black people or brown people or these people. And it's like, it just shows that they don't even know their enemies. They don't even know where this bullet came from, who sanctioned that. They have no clue.
Right. They're fixated on Charlie's words, right? Fixated on his words. So I look forward to that kind of blowing over, calming down, and maybe people become more introspective about their own stances on things. Something that Charlie said that it kind of stays with me is that empathy is dangerous, or that empathy is, he doesn't even believe in it, that it is a real thing.
Wow.
So again, it goes back to me, it goes back to soul ages. He was not at a place where he could understand
Right.
empathy.
Right.
And so he questioned it because he could not feel it for himself. And I think that this is a problem with a lot of younger souls, is they hear about empathy, or we're asking them to be more empathic or caring, but they just don't have it. It's like, what even is that? What are you even talking about? But it becomes, again, something that's polarizing. Instead of really trying to understand what that means, even if you don't feel it yourself, you can understand that, caring about another person or having compassion, that's what empathy is all about. What is bad about that? That I don't understand that controversy.
I don't understand that either. And, to add to that, you look at like people that do healings, people that do metaphysical healings on people. I mean, to even be a healer, you would have to have high empathic psychic abilities, because you'd have to feel where the sickness is to transmute it. And there are people that do get healed and have these gifts to heal other people. But to say that empathy is just some new age garbly goo is dangerous is weird to me.
Well, I think there needs to be more education about what empathy is, and why people have empathy and why some people don't. And hey, maybe more people need to listen to our podcast, Jason. That would help.
Well, but it's who knows? I don't know.
I mean, I don't really fault Charlie for saying what he said about empathy.
Yeah.
It was just his point of view.
Right.
And I find it really interesting. And again, I think the world needs more education about what empathy is, what it's all about, why some people have it and why some people don't. And those of us that do have empathy and do have wisdom and some understanding, I'd like to see more tolerance for other people who lack it, instead of so much anger.
Yeah.
Let's try to share with other people and help them understand, as opposed to belittle them,
right,
and make them feel less than or stupid, or put them in a category of evil. Let's just be a little bit gentler with one another, and have an open conversation about it. Right.
I like that, an open conversation, and and not let things polarize you. I mean, even when you go back in time and you look at the COVID, right? The CIA is brilliant, right? So they test consciousness with a lot of this. Well, let's see what segment of the population is not going to fall in line. And there was so many in the population that were like, sign me up. I want the shot immediately. I don't care if they did no testing. Just give it to me. And as a matter of fact, not only are we going to wear this mask, but I'm going to criticize everybody that doesn't, because they're the problem. And then the ones that aren't wearing the mask, it's like they take note and dictation of populations of where consciousness is. They test division at different intervals. So that disease or whatever that was brought on to see where the testing was. And then if you look, they've orchestrated a few other events to fine tune it, right? And this is the problem, the division.
Well, division, I think, has been a problem for a long time, but COVID really brought it to the surface.
To the surface.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely did.
I even had people telling me that when the COVID first came out, it was tough to get a shot in the beginning. And some people that were like, had money and had status, they were making up stories like, I'm obese, and cutting the front of the line just to get the shot.
Get a shot. Wow.
The propaganda was thick.
Pretty wild.
Wow.
Pretty wild. All right, guys. This is it for today's episode. Thank you for joining us. I hope you come back next week for episode 18. And We're going to talk about Lucifer and the goddess in our next episode. So I'm pretty excited about that. Why are you laughing?
Because I can see the hate and the division coming now. It's like, oh, we're going to talk about Lucifer and the goddess, but that will be really good.
I know.
I look forward to
I look
that.
forward to it too. Shout out of thanks to Eniana Bagai for producing our podcast. And again, Jay and I from Metaphysical Lighthouse, where psychics and scientists work together to build a better world.
Thanks for listening.
See you next week.